at the age of 19. After pushing a few other doors and different options, I decided to join the army and join the Parachute Regiment. Went through all the training and deployed out to Afghanistan in 2008 for the first time. Maybe it's June, July sort of time when we did suffer our first loss, and my friend Pete, who I'd been through basic training with, unfortunately was blown up by an IED strike, and unfortunately lost his life. By the time we got him onto the helicopter, he'd unfortunately lost a lot of blood and unfortunately passed away. But overall, actually, coming back from that tour, there was obviously the highs and lows of being under that kind of threat. Was part of, I suppose, the excitement of why I'd wanted to join the armed forces. I wanted to do something that made a difference. I wanted to do something where I could push myself. I wanted to do something that was challenging, and I wanted that adventure. And so when I came back from that tour, whilst we kind of were obviously grieving and mourning what had been and what had gone on, there was also a lot of elation, a lot of celebration. So basically in between a 6-7 month tour, you get a couple of weeks off in between. So we just come back. Interestingly, Afghanistan is actually pretty cold during the winter months, and that day it was frosty. It was cold, and we went out to an area to the north of where we were based, which was infamous for kind of sharpshooter threats, for like sniper fire, as it were. So that morning, as we patrolled around some of the buildings, we ended up, we had some open ground over to our right-hand side, and then a single round came in between myself and another guy. Generally, we're trying to suppress where we think the enemy are firing at us so that we can make an assessment, so that we can potentially either withdraw or go and look for that enemy to try and remove that threat. My friend Lewis and Conrad, who were kind of at the front of the patrol, were both poring over a map, trying to work out where that compound was in order to get eyes onto it and to figure out how we were going to then go and deal with that threat. Unfortunately, they then were on the receiving end of another sniper round, which went unfortunately through Conrad's face and into Lewis's neck. The next thing that got passed down the line was man down, and we obviously responded accordingly. I was called to push forward to come and take the place of where they'd just been shot. I don't know how long I went forward for, but I remember sitting there and someone was like, "Dave, that way." And there was definitely a moment of shock. I couldn't believe what I'd seen. Obviously, you watch these films and you know there's a threat, you know there's a possibility that someone could potentially lose their life just due to the type of work that we're involved with. But when you see friends, guys you've been through training with, you've lived with, you've spent months and months just doing life with, when you see them on the floor in that kind of situation, in that kind of condition, it's harrowing, as you can probably imagine. But I remember being unable to actually load the magazine, looking at my hands were shaking that much. I remember laughing at the time, just like, what is wrong? I can't actually load this magazine. But obviously the adrenaline and the shock was then starting to kick in. And during sort of a brief after we kind of gotten ready to go again, we were told that unfortunately both of them had died on the helicopter. And understandably, obviously, everyone was devastated, everyone was broken. And I went back to my kind of bed space, was cleaning my weapon after the everything that had gone on, and I absolutely broke down in tears. It wasn't just tears, it was like pain, sorrow and agony coming up. Initially, when you come back from an environment like that, I think from any tour, when you've been in firefights and you've been in regular conflicts, there's going to be a transition period. There's going to be a sort of acclimatizing, coming back to real life. The hardest thing I think about coming back is the fact that the rest of life has just gone on. Nothing seems to have really changed for anyone else. And so you then got to process trying to be normal, trying to come back into that normal environment. And we do this extreme job and we come back and you're extreme on the lash, having a drink. The way that I dealt with things was I'd become probably quite cold, quite conditioned, almost like that old school bloke mentality of just get on with it, crack on. I remember getting really angry for no reason at times at little things, really impatient. And then there's the standard kind of, you're walking down the street, you hear a car door shut and you're dead jumpy. It wasn't really until I think Remembrance Sunday that year, later on in the year, so a few months after we'd come back, that I remember spent the day basically getting drunk after we'd been to the Remembrance Parade. I remember walking home and sat on big fields near the barracks in my suit, just sitting absolute bits crying. I was on the phone to my friend who's in the Marines and just basically just pouring out about how broken I was, about what had happened and about the guys who hadn't made it back. I knew that there was a lot of pain, and not long after Afghanistan, my best friend Adam, who was a fast jet pilot, he lost his life in a training exercise. And something that was noticeable or really stood out to me was the fact that I remember throughout the whole day I didn't cry, didn't really show any kind of emotion. I felt like I'd become quite cold and quite hardened, although I was obviously broken inside. The way I was dealing with it was very different to maybe how I had been dealing with emotion in the past. And I suppose I'd just become conditioned to trying to just crack on with dealing with emotion and just almost like that kind of, oh, I'm a man, I'm a paratrooper, just get on with it. And I just felt, okay, I need to go and check out a church. And I came in, sat myself down, and it was dark. There was these like lights, and I'd seen kind of churches like this on YouTube in America or over in Australia, but I'd never seen or been into a church like this in the UK. And the third song, I couldn't speak. My eyes were just watering, streaming, and my mouth was open. And I can't even explain just this emotion that was taking place. I was looking at all these young people with their arms in the air worshiping God. It was amazing how, as I kept going to church, things really started to change in my life. The desire I had to watch pornography just really went. It wasn't really like a big struggle, it just kind of went. But something was really transforming within, not just like, I'm doing good things. Something supernatural was starting to happen to me. Something really starting to change within my heart and within my mind. And we were singing the words to this song where it went, Jesus, have your way. Jesus, have your way. And I was repeating this over and over again. But as I sang those words, Jesus stood before me. And I fell to my knees under just the experience of, I suppose, I experienced his power. I could experience the weight of his glory. And it felt like there was weight on top of me. It's quite hard to explain because in the same way that it would be hard to explain what love is, I suppose, it's obviously a subjective, personal experience, encounter. I became very aware of the fact that he's real. He was not just like an idea or something that was some well thought up idea within an old book, but he was alive in front of me. I felt full of joy, I felt full of hope, I felt clean by the end of the day. I felt like I'd been made new, I'd been restored, I'd been redeemed, and I just felt like I could see in 20/20 vision. I felt like I could see clearer, and I was like just full of joy, full of like peace. I wanted to get into the Bible and read all these books because I wanted to find out more about God. I wanted to find out more about his presence and this encounter that I'd had, and more about the fact that he's a living God. He's become so real to me. And I just felt the Lord saying to me, I am all you need. You don't need anything else in life. I am all you need. He was bringing this healing, this deep healing to some of the pain, maybe some of the deep pain that I wasn't even aware of, some of the anxiety, some of the stress, some of the trauma that had taken place. Being able to be in a place where you can actually be emotionally engaged with your family, for your kids, and actually being able to empathize with them and support them emotionally in that space, I think is huge. And that was something that maybe I just was lacking before I encountered Jesus and before he did the deep work that he did. It's not that you forget the things that have gone on. You don't forget the people who sacrificed their lives, and you don't disregard the seriousness and the intensity of the things you've experienced, but you're able to deal with them and manage them in a healthy way. But the amazing thing is that we get to encounter that love and that freedom that Jesus came to die upon a cross for now, today. It says, if you seek, you will find. And I can promise you the answers that I've found, the peace, the confidence, the joy, the sense of hope that I have. I speak to so many guys who have, and virtually all of them are dealing with PTSD, or they're dealing with just not being able to manage things properly, or there's brokenness within the family, there's depression, or their family's falling apart. The amazing thing is Jesus came to come and bring restoration, to come and bring healing, to come and bring peace. The things of the past are still painful. I have this real sense of peace and calm knowing that he's got it. I'm Dave, and I testify to the goodness of God in my life.
If there is anything that has resonated with you in this video, we believe that Jesus can make all the difference. Don't hesitate to respond. We would love to chat with you.